Hello everybody, my name's Fiona Macpherson and I'll be hosting today's event. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Open University to our webinar on behind the scenes on MBA recruitment. Just before we start, I'd like you to familiarise yourself with WebEx if you haven't used it before. As you see, the main part of the screen displays any content that we'll be using, and as you see at the moment, there's a presentation up there. We won't be actually sharing any other pieces of information during this session, so it will just be the presentation, but normally you would see different types of information there, whether we're sharing a desktop or the internet, etc. So that's on the main part of the screen. At the top of your screen, you'll see an audio broadcast box, and this is where you can adjust the volume. So if you can't hear very well, you might want to adjust that now. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see you've got two tabs. We've got the Participant tab and the Q&A tab. You'll be using these during the webinar, so we're just going to have a quick practice if you've not used these before. So if you'd like to select the Participant panel, if you've not already done so, then go down to the bottom, and first of all, if you click on the Show Hand icon. Brilliant. Right, loads of you have got that, so that's great. Okay, so you might find at some point Sandy might ask for a show of hands, and that's how you would actually do that. That's great. Okay. Then next what we're going to do is just use the tick icon, if you can see that, and I want you to answer the following question with either a yes or no. Are you on LinkedIn? That's great. Brilliant. So again, if Sandy wanted to ask you a closed question and required a yes or no answer, then that's where you would actually respond on there. Now we're going to look at the Q&A panel. We've allowed 20 minutes at the end of the webinar for the question and answer session, so you'll have an opportunity to ask Sandy questions using this panel. To send a question, all you need to do is select Host from the Ask drop-down menu, type in your question, and then click on Send, and we'll answer as many as we can. So if you want to just have a quick practice, if you select Host from the Ask menu, and then just type in whereabouts you are geographically today, and click Send. Okay, we've got Peter who's in Paris. We've got Ken in Dublin, Brian who's in Newcastle, Colin's also in Dublin, Kirsten in Brighton, Anna Maria's in Italy, Christian's in Frankfurt, Liz is in Northampton, James in Milan. We've got people all over the place, and we've got Jane in Harrogate and Esmel in Vienna. So that's great. So that's how you use the Q&A panel. So we look forward to obviously receiving your questions at the end. Okay, now I'm going to hand you over to our presenter, Sandy. Sandy's going to introduce herself. So if you just bear with me, I'm just going to hand over the presenter to her, and I hope you enjoy this session, and we look forward to receiving your questions later on.
Hello, and welcome to everybody who is joining us this evening. My name is Sandy Khan, as you know, and I'll be presenting the webinar today. So let me kick off, because believe me, this hour will whiz by. Before you know it, I'll be saying goodbye. So what can you expect in the next hour that we have together? Well, let me just move to the agenda here. To kick off with, I'm going to give you a snapshot about myself, okay? A very short, brief snippet about how I fit into the MBA space, and why do I think that I'm well qualified to present to you and to advise you today. And then we're going to move on to you, because what I'd like to see today is a quick snapshot of you and who's on the webinar today, so I can tailor the messaging that I deliver today. So, you know, you're spending some time with us, some meaningful time, I hope, so we can tailor this if we get a snapshot as to whether it's mainly students or mainly alums, and then we can, as I say, keep it more relevant for those that are joining us today. And then I'm going to talk to you about recruiters, and hiring practices. So I want to share with you today some meaningful insights into the mindset of recruiters. So, for example, where are they going to hire or looking for talent to hire, and how do they assess you when they find you? What are they expecting when they find you? And what indeed can you expect of them? What can you expect of recruiters? And, and all about the hiring etiquette. And then we finish with you. We come back to you, and we focus on some baby steps that you can take, because all of today is a lot of talk unless you go ahead and practice some of the things that I advise you to do today. So we just take a look at ways in which you can go on and market yourself. You need to do the best marketing job on your personal brand to really get the most out of the day. Otherwise, it's an hour of all talk. And then we can finish with some Q&A to finish with, okay? So let's kick off with a bit about me. All right, so 2 decades of MBA recruitment. What I do is I build MBA recruitment programs for multinationals. So, and I deliver MBA talent pipelines or work with recruiters to help them build their pipelines. And I started my career at PwC in graduate recruitment, and then moved on to Lehman Brothers, where I was hiring associates into investment banking, followed by Accenture, where I was hiring MBAs as strategy consultants. And then Google, I devised the first MBA recruitment program for EMEA, and then more recently for Microsoft, the first MBA recruitment program for Microsoft International. And I work with recruiters and hiring managers across functional areas. Okay, so you can see here everything from marketing through to HR and biz dev, and very much a global role as well, so across all regions. So in essence, I'm working with recruiters and hiring managers who are able to tell me exactly what they want in their sector and in their functional area and in their location. So I'd like to think that I'm well qualified today to give you some meaningful insights as to what these guys are looking for. Okay, so now over to you. What I'd like you to do, let's move to the next slide. Here we go. I'd like for you to answer some of these questions, and you should see a sort of survey type set up, and you can start answering away. So, are you an MBA student, a master's student, or an alumni? How many years of experience are you coming with? What functional area appeals to you? In which functional area do you have most experience? Which region appeals to you? And in which region do you have work authorization? So we're going to give you a little time to tick away, and then I'll give it a snapshot as to who we have on the call today. Is that right, Fiona? You don't want me to do anything else, do you?
No, you're fine. They're working away at the moment.
Good.
So I'll let you know when we've finished.
And it sounded like we had people from quite far afield. Well, quite diverse today in terms of location. Europe,
yes.
UK, yeah.
Yeah, it tends to be quite broad, actually. Okay, we're nearly there. We've just got a couple left.
Excellent.
We've got 4 very shy people out there.
Come on, guys, don't think too hard. Don't think too hard. Should be just snap, click, click, click.
We've got one more who's joined in.
You know what it is? Sometimes
3 shy people.
Okay, and sometimes I know, your functional experience, it should be just a dominant functional experience. I can imagine that some of you are coming from various different, probably on various different types of things. But think about just the dominant one. Just give it a big, broad snapshot.
Okay, that looks like everybody that's going to do it is going to do it. So I'm just going to publish those results so you can all see those.
Brilliant.
Spare me a second.
So am I the only one that sees the results?
No, they can see those as well.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent.
Oh, it's gone on a go slow. I presume you can't see those at the moment, can you?
No, I can't see anything yet, no.
No. I think it's churning away.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. And then basically this will give us an idea as to whether there's a bit of a match going on between what it is you have, and that's your experience, and what it is you want, again, in terms of your functional preferences and your locations as well.
No, it's in progress at the moment.
In progress, is it?
I don't know how long it's going to take, Sandy. You might want to just sort of continue and
can I continue? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, I'll give you a shout when it comes through. All right.
I didn't know we could do that. Okay.
Yeah, no, don't worry,
right.
and I'll let you know. All right.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to recruiters then. So you know a little bit about me. Hopefully I'll know a little bit more about you in a moment. Let's talk about recruiters and what it is that we're looking for. So it doesn't really matter about the sector or the function or the location. We're pretty much all looking for the same thing, okay? And I think to cut straight to the chase, I can tell you that we're all looking for high potential leadership talent, okay, in a nutshell. So we're looking for people who are going to look, feel, and smell like leaders, ultimately, okay? So I would say ask yourself that. Do you portray some of the traits that you would expect to see in leadership talent? Well, Jack Welch here, former chairman and CEO of GE, describes what he thinks are good leaders. He says that good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, and passionately own it and relentlessly drive it to completion. So what's he saying? In a nutshell, he believes that leaders are strategic thinkers, have vision, good communication skills, they have the passion, and they take ownership. They make things happen. They drive results. Okay. So now let's just take a quick look.
Sandy,
yes.
Just before we go on, do you want me to read the results out to you, just so that everybody gets a feel? Because I have got the results here, but for some reason it seems to have hung, so it doesn't seem to actually be publishing them. But I can run through them so that you all have an idea of who's actually on today. We have got, just to give you a rough idea of sort of a mix of students, we've got 38% who are MBA, and 50% who are alumni. So that'll give you an idea of the mix that we have today. Experience-wise, 65% of them have over 9 years' experience.
Great.
And then it's a fairly equal split between the others. Functions that appeal. Generally, there's a good spread across consulting, business development, and technology.
Yeah, I was expecting that. It's just always a general spread. Okay. Consulting, technology.
And business development.
Okay, and BD. All right.
Okay, and which function do you have most experience in? We've got a fairly good spread, but majority is sort of around about technology, business development, consulting, and other sectors.
Okay, so it's spread.
With regards to regions, 73% are interested in Western Europe, with 31% Eastern Europe and 27% Northern America. And then, which region do you have work authorization? We've got 73%, again, Western Europe, 27% Eastern Europe, and 4% for North America. All right, so at least that gives you an idea of who we have today and what they're all looking at.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you very much.
I'll leave you to it. Right.
Perfect. Thank you. That gives me a good snapshot. I'm feeling here that there are maybe not too many people that are trying to switch regions, and that's not a bad thing because it can be challenging with work authorization. So it sounds like a lot of you are alums coming with good years of experience, 9+ years of experience, but we do have some MBA students with us today as well. Okay, so I'm going to be mindful of this as I walk you through the rest of the presentation, all right? Okay, so we've got a snapshot of what a leader here thinks that other leaders should look like. I'm just going to move on now and talk to you generally about recruiters and where they're fishing for talent, okay? So where do you need to be in order to be visible to recruiters? So for our MBA students today, well, campus recruiters are fishing here. Obviously, they want to be building direct relationships with business schools, okay? And if they cannot be on campus, they may be hosting events off campus in their offices or at hotels, etc. But more and more these days, increasingly, they're doing virtual events as well. So webinars like this are becoming more popular, and they do like working with clubs as well, okay? So this is where you'll find most campus recruiters not doing a lot in the MBA space around social media is what I've noticed, or trying to search for you generally on the web. They are sourcing directly from the schools and looking at things like CV books, yeah? And obviously job posting to solicit applications. And then here, in big letters here, I put referrals. This is very meaningful for the campus recruiters as well as your general recruiters. Now, the general recruiters, they are your sort of experienced hire recruiters. And I say for our alums today that are on the line, this is your buyer. This is your target audience and sources as well. So recruiters, generally, they'll be looking at people with 3+ years of experience. So they'll be open to MBAs as well as experienced high candidates, so those with those non-MBAs as well. And what they're saying is that, or what they generally tend to do, is not go to campus to brand and to promote their events, but they may post jobs and solicit applications. But these jobs that they're posting are not especially just for MBAs, whereas for the campus recruiters, they think very carefully about their stories before coming onto campus, and they're very selective about the jobs that they're posting, and they're very careful to make sure that those jobs are going to be most appealing to MBAs. General recruiters are just posting jobs that they think that it could be of interest to you, and some will be and some may not. Referrals I put here in big letters because referrals are very meaningful for recruiters, so for obvious reasons. Right? If a candidate is referred by someone within the business, it's very likely that it's going to be a quality referral. And the person referring that person will understand the culture of their organization. They will know whether that individual or that referral is going to be a fit within their organization. They know the job. They'll know what kind of person succeeds in their organization. Yeah, so that's why they've always been through a first screen, if you like. And for recruiters that have a very high volume of applications already, this is very meaningful because they can cut a few steps. These referrals are given priority. Okay, so they're hired more quickly. All right. Now everybody's looking at CV books and databases, pretty much. Okay, so do make sure the alums, you may have databases, alumni databases through your schools. Certainly the MBAs, you should have CV books. More schools are creating LinkedIn groups as well for their students and for their alums. So you should be in these places. Now, sources. Sources are, I would say, they're the most creative type of recruiter. They're incentivized to seek out passive candidates. They're not always people that are actively looking. So you want, if you're job seeking, you really do want to be visible to these guys. They will seek you out whether you're looking or not. So they'll do clever little searches like a Boolean search on the web, and they can uncover people that way. But they'll certainly be looking at LinkedIn, and increasingly they're looking at Twitter as well. So, through Twitter, they can be finding you through your bio, which is only 160 characters long. So you want to make sure, and through your conversations. So you want to make sure that these things are searchable, okay? Now, if you don't know what I mean, there's a lot of material out there for how to brand yourself on Twitter. Fiona, if I ask the audience now if they knew how to optimize Twitter, would you be able to give me the results in your own time?
I can do, yes.
Okay, so why don't you guys let Fiona know if you know how to optimize Twitter in terms of branding yourself. It'd just be interesting to know. Okay.
You want to send it to the Q&A? It's the easiest way of doing it, guys. Jane says no.
Somebody, which is interesting stuff, you see, because for future sessions we might get a better idea as to what you guys, how you might benefit from another session, and what that should include. So
far, the consensus of opinion is no.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. So this would be meaningful for the Open University, what kind of other sessions they might want to put on for you. So
I haven't got
media,
one, yes. We've got a lot of no's, actually, for now. So
you've got a lot of no's?
Yeah,
okay.
General opinions, no at this stage.
Okay, well, guys, that doesn't surprise me. So I hear that a lot. And you'll hear from me towards the end of the presentation, but I am setting up a group that is just going to be for the MBA community, but I'll talk about that later. Associations, or what I mean here is professional associations. So these sources are networking as well as online. They'll move their online sourcing offline as well. So that's where you're going to find sources primarily. They're also looking at databases, and so this just gives you a snapshot as to what kind of recruiter you can expect and what bucket you might fall into. So our students, you're pretty much here with campus recruiters and candidates with, I would say, 6+ years of experience. You're more your experienced hire target, and I would say 10+ years sources could be interested in, and executive search agents as well. Okay, so let's move on. All right. Okay, so we talked about where recruiters are going to find talent. Now, what do they expect when they find you? Well, at some point in the hiring process, you're going to need a CV. Okay, so whether you met a recruiter just through some informal networking, you're going to, at some point in the hiring process, require a CV that is going to open doors for you with the recruiter, or help you to continue having conversations with recruiters. So this box here, the first screen, is, I'd say these are the core things that recruiters are looking for on a CV, and it's a quick snapshot. These are the things that we do a very quick screen on. So relevant functional experience. I'd say that's very meaningful for industry recruiters. Investment banking and consulting recruiters are open to candidates that do not come with relevant functional experience. But I'd say that they are the more your campus recruiters. So if you're an experienced hire candidate, I would say that those recruiters are still also looking for functional experience. They're still expecting you to come from a finance background or from a consulting background. They really want you to hit the ground running, right? Whereas if you're a fresh grad coming with 3 to 5 years of experience, then these campus recruiters are more open to investing in you in terms of putting you on a program, molding you and training you. Okay, so they're open to a more diverse background. Years of experience, we count up years of experience very quickly so that we can bucket you. And that's the first thing that we tend to do or try to do very quickly is bucket our candidates, okay? We need to just say, are they an experienced hire? Are they a fresh grad? Which functional area are they a fit for? Which country recruiter are they a fit for? Yeah? So years of experience. Region and country experience. We recruiters tend to like students and alums that are coming from the region or the country where the job is going to be based in. We tend to like natives, for obvious reasons. We want people that have deep local market knowledge. So that's why I put here language as well. We prefer fluency in the local language, okay, and natives in terms of nationality. There are some regional recruiters out there, I would say Latin America, Asia, where they're a little bit more open about the nationality of their candidates, okay? So their first priority or their first choice might be natives, but then they'd be open to international candidates as well because, for example, their local talent pools, they may be a bit dry, okay? So they may not be getting the quality that they're looking for. Okay, those regions are quite open. Work authorization. Now, we prefer candidates to have work authorization for the region or location where the job is based. Timeline, budget, for those reasons, we prefer not to have to support candidates on work permits, okay? So we do look for that. Current location, we prefer not to have to fly candidates around. It's ideal if you're in the region or the country where we're trying to hire, okay? I would say, again, Latin America, Asia, they would be more open to flying candidates over eventually towards the latter stages of the hiring process. But certainly in the US and Europe, I'm finding they are preferring their candidates to be more local so that we can get them through the hiring process and not have to invest on shipping them over for interviews. Mobility. Now, things like leadership development programs. If you're a student right now and you're looking at a leadership development program, these programs are anything from 18 months to 4 years, and year on year, or sometimes every 6 months, the employer could be moving you around from country to country. So is mobility an issue for you? Are you motivated by mobility? If you're motivated by it, put it on your cover letter. Same for our experienced hire alums today. We'll be able to see from your CVs, whether you've been very open to mobility. You can see from this cross-regional exposure. Have you been working a lot outside of your home country? And again, for you, I would say put it in your cover letter if you're motivated or very flexible about being mobile. Especially meaningful if I'm a recruiter in a multinational, where I need you to travel you may be sitting in France working in a marketing position, but believe me, your team will be pretty virtual. Professional qualifications, no-brainer. Things like CFA, SEMA, you put them on your CV under education. Gender, we are, it's common knowledge that big organizations are very hot on diversity. They want a very diverse workforce. And I think some sectors struggle with building female talent pipelines. So they would be more open to having, or very excited about having female candidates. I've certainly come across some recruiters that are more favorable towards the female candidate when I present two candidates with very similar backgrounds because they've got these diversity targets. And it tends to happen in technology a lot and finance too. Okay. Then moving on to a deeper screen. Okay, so I've done a first screen. I'm a recruiter. I've done my first screen, and the candidate is ticking all of these boxes. Wonderful. Now they deserve a little bit more of my time, and I'm going to look at some of these key factors that I would be looking for. C-level engagement. Has the candidate got exposure with senior management up to board level? That's meaningful to me because we're looking for future leaders. We're looking for people who can engage with and influence other leaders. Cross-functional collaboration. So what do I mean by that? Simply working with teams outside of your own. So, for example, marketing, working in a marketing function. It's not about working in silo. It's about working with finance. It's about working with the sales teams. It's about working with the tech guys. So you have to work with almost every division of the organization. Cross-regional exposure. So I mentioned this earlier, working outside of your home country. So, you're comfortable working in other locations and in other cultures. Management or relationship management. What do I mean by this? So for our students on the line, I'm not expecting many of you to have had direct reports. You might have, but I'm not expecting that. Those of you that have maybe 8+ years of experience, you might have. But what I'm really driving at here is that, want to see people that have managed other teams. So getting other teams to do what you need them to do by a certain timeline. So driving action. That's what I mean here. Complex matrix organizations, meaningful for recruiters sitting in multinational organizations. It takes a particular way to drive results and make things happen in a complex matrix organization. So if you're coming from one, then I know that you're going to obviously be more comfortable in my organization if I'm a multinational. If you're coming from organizations that are pretty small, and you've been a big fish in a small pond, then I might question whether you're going to be comfortable and be able to hit the ground running in a larger organization. Okay, so think about, if that is the case, then think about how do you close the experience or knowledge gap here. All right. Quantify your achievements. So what do I mean? I mean things like, give me the numbers is what I'm talking about here. Give me the sizes of the teams that you've worked with. Give me the amount of revenues that you've built or the budgets that you owned. So that's what I mean. So it's all about telling me as a recruiter, telling the recruiter how much business you've managed, how much business you've been able to build. Conflict management and negotiation. Not so easy to get this across in a CV, maybe in a covering letter, but it certainly would come up as an interview question. So I would say, I put it here because I wanted to mention it and say, think about it, make sure you have a story for conflict management and negotiation. Okay, so this is a very common interview question. Academic achievements and high academic grades. Certainly, obviously, some recruiters are really driven by this, and some recruiters very much so with high academic grades. Again, some sectors such as consulting, investment banking, and also some industry companies as well. Extracurricular activities. I have heard some students ask me, should I? I don't have space for this. No, we want to see it. We want to see extracurricular activities. We want to see what makes you happy outside of work. We want people that can work hard and play hard. It's a bit of your personality here. All right. Okay. Let me move on here. Okay. So these, what you see here, are the things that we would look for, expect in leadership talent, in management talent. Okay. So ask yourself this. Do you portray some of these traits in your CV? Do you portray these traits in your actions on a day-to-day basis? Okay, because you can't just switch it on and switch it off. You've got to, like I said, you've got to look, feel, and smell like a leader, and you've got to start acting like a leader as well, particularly when it comes to making yourself more visible to recruiters, getting yourself out there, and sounding more convincing as well. Right? That's why I say you can't just switch it on. Recruiters can see past that. Okay. So I've listed, these are just some. Okay, I've listed so many more, but these are the common ones that I see again and again when I'm talking to managers at the end of a hiring day. They will say these are the traits that they value the most. Okay. So before I move on to the next slide, I think what I should mention here is that you might want to think about, do you have a strong story behind each of these traits? Well, because we all like a good story. So, if we're assessing you on these traits, and you want to make sure that you've got a good example to portray these traits, a good life example, work example. Okay. And how do we assess your story? Okay. So these are, I would say, the three key ways that we as recruiters are assessing you and your stories. We obviously are listening to what you say, and it's not just what you say, but it's also how you say it as well, and we assess you on fit as well. So what you say is the depth and the structure of your answers in an interview. Okay, are you answering the question? Is it relevant? Are you convincing? If you understand the organization, if you understand the job content, you will be convincing. And how you say it are the softer skills, your delivery, and whether you have impact. Are you being able to build a rapport with the recruiter? Very important to be able to build a rapport with the recruiter. I can't tell you how many times hiring managers have said to me, do you know what, I liked them. And we're very keen then to move them on to the next stage. Right? So it's a lot about the relationship. Well, that's what drives business, getting on with people and then getting them to do what you need them to do, action. But it's all of these things combined. It's no one of these. It's not one thing that's any more important than another. I'd say all of them. And then cultural fit, passion. I've mentioned passion a couple of times. Passion because, why is there keen on passion? And what is it about a passionate candidate that makes them better than any other? It's a candidate that I feel will go the extra mile for an organization. A passionate candidate will stick around for an organization, less likely to hop and leave us for another organization. So, as I said, we're looking for leaders of tomorrow. We want to invest in them. We want them to stay with us, medium to the long term, as well as these other things as well, what we look at. We as recruiters know who is going to succeed in our organization. So sometimes it's very hard to describe fit, But the more people that you talk to from an organization as you're doing your research and your networking, you'll get it. You'll start to look, feel, and smell like them and understand their lingo, their jargon. And believe me, each organization has its own type of jargon. Okay, I shall move on. Okay, now what you're seeing here is hiring managers, their feedback. Their feedback to me at the end of a long day of interviewing MBA candidates, and this is their real feedback. These are the students that made it on to further rounds or were actually hired, okay? And you can see here the traits that they were demonstrating: innovative and creative, critical thinker, passion for leadership, genuine. We do like students that show humility as well, okay? So you can see that these are the traits that you want to be demonstrating, okay? Had good strategy answers as well. So, yeah, again, strategic thinker, available, So someone in this case was, in some sectors such as industry, we do want candidates that are either a few months away from graduation, or certainly in some sectors we can't be waiting 6 months or so when students are graduating and then making them offer. In investment banking and consulting, they can. For students, they can do that. Okay? All right, moving on here. So you saw what would get you through a hiring process. These are the things, however, that you don't want to be doing. These are the students that didn't make it through. And again, this is real feedback. These students were lacking passion, okay? Well, generally, they were just not able to sell themselves. They were not convincing, okay? Woody answers, lacked substance and depth. Told me what I wanted to hear. We can tell when someone is not genuine. In fact, I've actually come across hiring managers that have said, this candidate, they didn't give me the ideal answer to everything, but that's okay because we didn't really expect them to know everything. But, they found them to be genuine, so they liked them. They gave them the benefit of the doubt. And so again, it came down to the rapport and the relationship, and they felt that candidate was then going to be a good fit for their team, people that were going to get on with members of their team. Okay. All right, so moving on. All right, so what can you expect in the hiring process? So I mentioned earlier those 3 types of recruiters. Or to simplify it, I would say that the campus recruiters have more of a structured approach. Okay, so for the students on today's webinar, this is the box for you, poster boxes. You want to be looking at this. And for our alums, and for those that have, I would say, yes, definitely our experienced hire candidates, you would fall under this box. So the campus recruiters are those that are coming to campus and they're saying, we've got MBA jobs and we've got MBA programs. And they're driving the process through a central team. So what do I mean here? What I mean is that they will accept applications for marketing, for finance, for strategy, for sales, and they will be processing those applications through one team. So you, as a candidate, might have applied to finance, thinking you're a good fit, but the recruiter could deem you to be a better fit for marketing, okay? And they will bucket you into the marketing part. But of course, before sending you on to a hiring manager, they will check in with you and ask if you would be happy to be considered for a marketing position. And then away they go. You say yes. All right. And so they are more open to talent sharing, okay? And they have a global story as well. So they're more likely to say, we've got jobs in Europe, in the US, and in Asia. So these recruiters in each of the regions are collaborating and then presenting their jobs to you on campus, okay? So yes, and it is across functions as well, as I mentioned. And they do prefer to have on-campus presence at targeted schools. And of course, they've got to be targeted. They've got to, they only have resources to go to only so many schools. And it's a pretty tight timeline as well. And so this is the other reason why they need to be targeted. There's only so many campuses that they can get to within a specific timeline. Now, they are generally hiring, their peak hiring times tend to be between September and December, okay, for full-time positions, and then from January through to March, again for full-time opportunities and summer internships, okay. What I like about the campus recruiter is that there's some transparency and consistency in their hiring process. So they'll say, look, these are when your first rounds will happen, this is when your second rounds will happen, and this is when you're likely to get an offer if you've been successful. And they're very focused on the candidate experience, making sure that even those students that don't walk away with an offer or not progressing through the hiring process, that every touch point is a positive one, where they walk away with a good story about their organization. They very much value the MBA. They get it, you know, and they work towards a high touch approach. They're working towards fixed start dates, you know, whether that's one or a couple. They have these fixed start dates, and therefore they're very driven by timelines. Their hiring process runs like a machine. Okay, it runs like a machine. That means if you miss their application deadline, then that's really not good news. So you do need to be very cognizant of their timelines. Okay, so that's my best advice for the students. For the experienced hire folk, for the alumni, it's a little bit more grey for you guys. Okay, these recruiters, some of them may not have job descriptions as well. They may just be building talent pipelines. They obviously have opportunities for, some of them will have opportunities for MBAs, but most of them are looking for people, as I said, with 6+ years of experience, very decentralized. So they're very much focused on their own functional area in their own country and may not have the time to talent share. So I might be a recruiter in France, and I've got a Latin American candidate in front of me for a marketing position, and I'm hiring for marketing. I might not have the time, or I may just not have the contact in Latin America and say, hey, marketing recruiter in Latin America, I've got a good-looking candidate for you here. So not a lot of talent sharing going on. That is changing, but it's a little slow. Less campus presence, if there is any, it tends to be job posting rather than physical presence. All year-round hiring, yeah? So this is real-time hiring. They want to hire candidates very, very fast. So a hiring manager will come along with a job description, and then, as I say, they tend to like candidates that are, very available, a few months away. They are very focused on building strong candidate pipelines. But as I say, in some cases, it can be just building pipelines, and therefore, when a job does come along, when a job does materialize, they can dip into that pipeline. Yeah? Not all of them will understand the MBA and business schools. Yeah, it's just the way it is. And I think that when they do, they love to tap into the talent. But as I say, there's just not the awareness there. Transactional hiring. So it's less about the touchy-feely. Yeah? So I mentioned earlier that these campus recruiters are quite good at educating their audiences. The experienced hire recruiters, as I said, they're more driven about just filling the job, right? And it's more about getting through the numbers to get the right hire. And they are more flexible on their start dates, by the way. For the right candidates, they will be more open about shifting when you start. It's all year-round hiring. And both recruiters, campus and non-campus, very driven by diversity targets. Okay, I mentioned that earlier. Okay, back to you. What do I mean by back to you? What are we looking at here? Well, I think everything that we've talked about today is grand, but, what do you do about it? I think that if I was in your shoes, I'd start by looking at who you are, what you have, okay, in terms of your experience, and then what it is that you want, and see if there's a match between what it is you have and what you want, and then look at how you're going to get what you want. And then, of course, give yourselves a timeline. This is what I mean by the strategy. And so I've just tried to summarize it here for you. You've got to start with some discovery before you move on to the strategy. Okay, so do look at your strengths and your weaknesses, your values, your passions. Okay, if you can marry your passion with the job that you want, bingo. It's perfect. But you do need to believe in yourselves and be able to sell yourselves. And that does mean looking at your strengths, your values, your passions. Okay, and then what it is, obviously, that you want, but also what recruiters want. Because you want to make sure that there's a match going on here. And if there isn't, identify the gaps in skills and knowledge, and then start working on those gaps. Try to fill those gaps. Make sure you do the basics right. The basics, in my opinion, are making sure that you have a polished CV and making sure that you're visible to recruiters in those areas that I mentioned before, such as on the web, such as social media. Yeah? And please be cognizant of the fact that, whether you're in Facebook or wherever you are, you're very visible to recruiters. Yeah? And start working on those gaps. Trying to close those gaps. If you're a career switcher, what might it take? Might it take an internship, a free consulting project perhaps? So start working on that. And obviously own it and drive it. Only you can make it a success. And that's what we would expect of candidates, of our leadership candidates. Yeah? So you're better prepared and able to impress us. And obviously you need a timeline. Your dream job should be your plan A. But everybody needs a contingency plan. And do think about your career search as more of a marathon, perhaps, than a race. You may have to do X, Y, and Z to get to your dream job. It's not a race for everyone. It just depends on how passionate you are. And for some people, it will just take longer than others, particularly if you're a career switcher. Okay. So we've got some time now. Yeah, we've got time for questions. So here, I think you've got to type away. Fiona, can we actually can we unmute people, perhaps, if they raise their hand?
No, because they're not actually dialed in.
Okay.
Audio records, but we've got some questions, so I will fire away. First of all, I've got a question from Jane, who's asked, do you ever use internet recruitment websites like Monster for experienced hire recruitment?
I know of recruiters that do. Sorry, is that from Jane?
It is, yes.
Jane, I do know of recruiters that still use it. I wouldn't say it's a big winner for recruiters these days because they're not finding perhaps not finding the quality that they would hope, and they've got other channels to do it. And an increasing number of recruiters are doing two things now. They're posting positions, obviously, through their own website and through job boards. maybe like Monster. But they're also looking at passive candidates as well through LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the big one, okay, guys? So it's like a global CV book for us. So there are special recruiter accounts now. So they are trying to touch passive candidates that just look good to them, and then they will touch base with them and say, are you interested in our job? So they'll seek out candidates that way. Because there's one thing that we don't miss, as many recruiters will have a lot of applicants, but struggle with finding the right ones. Yeah, so they try to save themselves some time by going direct to candidates rather than waiting for them to apply to them.
Okay, that's great. The next question we've got is from Margaret, and this is probably quite irrelevant for quite a few of the people actually on today's call. She's asking, is the campus recruiter looking for a particular age group? Because obviously Open University students are normally older and don't have a campus as such. So would you advise them to attend Brick University campus job recruitment fairs?
Was the question whether those campus recruiters are looking for a particular age group?
Yes, because obviously
Okay.
typically Open University students are older rather than your typical sort of MBA students.
That's an interesting question, actually. So I would say that the campus recruiters would feel a little uncomfortable about putting we can't be ageist, right? I mean, that's against the law, but they might feel a little bit uncomfortable with putting a 40-year-old on a leadership development program where there are 20-somethings there. And generally, we don't face that scenario because the older candidates do come with more years of experience. So we wouldn't bucket them for a leadership development program. Leadership development programs or fresh grad opportunities are, we're finding that we can find candidates with 3 to 5 or 6 years of experience is ideal. And those candidates tend to be anything from, mid-20s up to mid-30s.
Okay, that's quite diverse really, isn't it? So it's higher.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Let's move on to the next one. Let's have a look. Oksana has asked, how do you actually go about presenting traits in a CV?
How do you present traits in a CV? So, okay, well, Roxana, I don't know if today's forum is going to be the one for me to sort of tackle that one with a great amount of depth, but we want you to make sure that every single word, every single sentence that you present on your CV is going to add value. Yeah, it's going to add value to the organization and the job content. So if you understand, let's go back to marketing. If you understand marketing and how marketing works, you will be able to present yourself in a meaningful manner. Yeah. Okay. You'll be able to target the right traits and pick on the right experiences that add value to marketing if you understand marketing.
Okay, we've got another one actually from Oksana, just sort of following on from that. She's just asking, from your experience, is most of the MBA hiring done through advertising or headhunters?
If most of the MBA hiring
yes,
is done through advertising or headhunters, not headhunters, unless it's for a very small organization that do not have the resources to build a relationship directly with business schools. So they may hire sources or headhunters. It doesn't happen often. That tends to happen more at experienced higher level. So advertising, I'd say, is more the way that we go for MBA students.
Okay, that's great. Next one, we're just going to crack on through these. We've got a question from Esmail asking, where would you find companies that recruit for MBAs in Africa? Currently work as a scientist for the UN and is interested in management consulting in operation management.
So where would we try to find candidates that have, what experience?
Currently working as a scientist for the UN.
Okay, and Roxana is interested in recruiters that are looking for... Asmel is looking for recruiters who are trying to hire for what area?
MBA in Africa.
Oh, just Africa. Okay,
Yeah.
so for Africa. Ismail, what I would say is that it will tend to be a multinational, okay? And if I were you, I would target...
let me just send something through saying it's an MBA student at the Open University at the moment.
MBA student, okay. So Ismail, without looking at your background, so it's, I'm going to keep it very general here. I would target your organizations, the ones that excite you most, and obviously think about what it is you have in terms of your experience that's going to add most value for a particular functional area, and then to shortlist the companies that are most meaningful. Don't be waiting for them to reach out to you. It'll if they do, they'll do it through your job board, okay, or they'll do it through their website. But that's a lot of hunting around. If I were in your shoes, I would target, say, 10 that are very dominant in Africa, and look at the opportunities that they have. And you can do this through LinkedIn. So you can research a lot through LinkedIn. And of course, if you search on an organization, you see two things. You see careers and you see people as well. So you can be checking out what kind of careers they're offering, as well as through their own website, of course, and be linking in with people as well, okay? And then do what I suggested earlier in a slide. Look at what it is that you have first, and then start to target and focus organizations.
Okay. Whilst you talk about LinkedIn, Gavin has asked if you can recommend any websites for optimizing LinkedIn pages or consultants.
Optimizing LinkedIn pages. Oh, gosh, you just have to Google that. And LinkedIn itself has a lot of good resources on their own site. So that's an easy one. Gavin, Google it. Google it. No, really. I mean, it's a no-brainer. That one is there's so much out there on the web to how to be optimizing LinkedIn, and I think that as another session, it could be something that we do for Open University students. But there's a lot of material out there on the LinkedIn platform itself as well. But Gavin, what I would say is that, just to answer that question, is don't overcomplicate this. Keep this really simple, because you're all very busy professionals and we are busy recruiters. So what are the basics? What will we expect from a LinkedIn profile? That's the key question here. And I would make sure that you have on a LinkedIn profile, to keep a recruiter happy, is to have your photos. Make sure that it's very current. Okay, so you want all your current information and data on there. A way that we will know that a profile is current is if we see activity. If you're linking in with other people, we can see activity down the right-hand side of a profile. Okay, if I see recent activity, I know that Gavin's profile is recent. He's worked on it. Hopefully, he's happy with it. Obviously, I want some good meat on there, some good content. I want to see a summary with specialities. I want to see 4 or 5 bullet points at least under each job role. I want to see skills and expertise. If you want to go a step further, I want to see people recommending you on those skills and expertise. Check out my profile on LinkedIn. Mine's a little bit too long, I have to say. But you can see, if you just check out my skills and expertise, you can see that people have been recommending me. So reach out to people to recommend you. Skills and expertise are good to add to profiles because they make you a little bit more visible to recruiters who are searching on keywords as well. Be joining relevant groups. They can be, by joining groups, you can set yourself up for alerts as well. So that's a good tactic to be researching. So they are the base, and obviously make sure your education is there. So they are the basics that you can do on LinkedIn to make yourself look good and more visible.
Okay, just on that actually, Jane suggested there's a very good LinkedIn official channel on YouTube if you all want to search on YouTube for that. Which will give you some really useful information, so hopefully that will help as well. Okay, just moving on. We've got a final one. Actually, we've got a question from Eric. I'm just going to have a look at, he's got a couple, so I'm not sure which one he would prefer me to ask at this stage, but we'll go with the first one. Would you say that Twitter is more viable to target to raise visibility than LinkedIn? The
question was LinkedIn over Twitter?
Yes.
I would say, if you're going to make me choose, I would say, LinkedIn is first, since you're all very busy people. So if I was to say which one first, I would say LinkedIn. But don't ignore Twitter. Twitter, you can be very strategic with Twitter if you just do some homework on Twitter. Look, on LinkedIn, there's only so many times you can update your profile. Yeah, once or twice. That's it. And I would say LinkedIn is a constant feed. A feed into you, and you can be setting up, you can be seeing what organizations are promoting and what people are talking about. But also recruiters can search on the conversations that you're having. So you could be tweeting about particular skills or jobs, and they can find you through that. Okay, so you do need to do, as a recruiter, I'm telling you, my advice is that more recruiters are looking at Twitter because that's where there's a lot of critical mass right now as well, in addition to LinkedIn. And they're becoming more and more creative and resourceful about how they source talent. So don't ignore Twitter, as I would say that.
Okay, and just one final one from Eric. Eric's worked in IT for 12 years. I'm just wondering, would a recruiter target him for another leadership role? Perhaps he's added another question, so I'm presuming it's related to this, perhaps in marketing?
So he's switching from IT to marketing, and he's an experienced hire candidate with 12 years of experience.
Yes, you just sent that through saying yes, actually confirming as well.
That's Ian, is it?
No, that's Eric.
Eric, a career switcher from technology to marketing, an experienced hire candidate. You need to think deep about how what you've done is going to add value to marketing, and you need to network quite hard as well. So you need to have multiple conversations with marketeers and preferably in the tech sector as well. So that would be my best advice to you, is really understand marketing. And then what you'll find is that through having lots of conversations, you'll understand where you'll start to fit in an organization. And the place you want to be is where recruiters and managers are saying, you know what, Eric, you'd actually really be good in this type of job. That's where you want to be. You want to be having conversations that are leading you there.
Okay, you just said thank you very much. That was really helpful. Okay, guys, thanks very much for that. Just moving on, you'll see on your screen at the moment, you've got the login details for the Career Farm website. Just to let you know, a copy of the slides will be available from tomorrow on there. And then also just moving on, as always, a copy of the webinar recordings will be available on the WorkMaze website and also on the Open University website. So you should have the login details for those. And then just finally moving on, obviously there you can see our Twitter and Facebook addresses. So Twitter is @thecareerfarm and Facebook is The Career Farm. So we'd love you to follow us and join in the conversation there. And finally, just going on to our next session, which will be on Wednesday the 21st of November, when Jane Barrett will actually be carrying out a couple of online interviews with OU alumni. The first one will be at 6 o'clock with Keith Grinstead, and I'm sure you'll find that very enlightening, and it's one of the typical things of what he'd wish he'd known back when he originally started. And the same at 7 o'clock, we've got Jamie Campbell from D3T, and again, that will be another half-hour session. So if you want to get in contact with the Open University and book your place on there, it'd be great to see you all. So just to say thank you very much for attending. We've got some great questions there, so we hope you all found it really useful. And I'll just pass you over to Sandy to say thanks as well. So goodbye.
Thank you, Fee. And yes, my thanks to everyone as well for joining us. And I should quickly clarify that this slide here, which talks about the global network that I have, an extensive network, and I should clarify MBA Club. As soon as it does go live, there'll be an announcement for you. Okay, so I can send this through the career services, which I know we're able to blast that out to alumni and students when it goes live. And this is a platform that I was talking about earlier. There's going to be an MBA think tank, and eventually once we have a good critical mass and students are in there playing around and getting comfortable with Twitter, because what I've noticed is that not a lot of MBAs are optimizing Twitter, and so I'm hearing this increasingly, and so that's why I'll be launching this group to allow them to just bounce ideas and techniques and just understand Twitter and play with Twitter before we get recruiters in and engaging with MBA talent as well. And it's students and alumni that are welcome to this group, as well as MBA Friends, as you see down here. It's an MBA Friends community. So it's recruiters, coaches, professors, you name it. So everyone that understands the MBA space and arena. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.